What's going on, guys? Welcome back to our Ryzen channel. My name is Ivan, and for today we have another great computer from HP. Now, this one obviously didn't come from HP. I bought it with my own funds, but let me tell you the story real quick and we're gonna move on to some more interesting and exciting things. So right before LetGo merged with OfferUp, you probably are familiar with those two apps. They were popular for like kind of local buying and selling different things. So I sold tons of computers and bought tons of computers and components on LetGo right before the merger or the acquisition, I guess. This one popped up on LetGo and the seller was asking only $60. But what was offered was only the chassis, the motherboard, the wireless card, the cooling solution, and that was about it. Oh, and the power supply. Power supply, the most important thing. I knew immediately the value of this computer just because the power supply only, it's $100. This is the 400 watt 80 plus platinum power supply that is on the Walmart special that you guys seen many times on my channel, and I ran multiple tests and mods and all kinds of stuff on it. So I knew it was a great deal. I offered $50. The seller accepted it. I went ahead, grabbed it right away. Now, my initial thought was like, at least I'm gonna have a spare power supply. I was not sure if even the components inside work, the motherboard or all that stuff. But then I started thinking, you know what? I already have an extra memory. I have an extra NVMe drive. I have a cooling solution. What I can do is grab a processor and see if maybe it's working. So this specific AMD based computer, it's the HP Pavilion 690-0024. I did a little research. I knew immediately what kind of processors this motherboard can take, and it's up to Ryzen 7 2700. I look at the price for Ryzen 7 2700 and it's around $200, $200 plus. So I was like, nah, I'm not sure if I want to spend that kind of money. So I looked at the second best, which is the Ryzen 5 2600. This one ran $140. I was like, yep, I think price and performance wise, this will be absolutely perfect balance. So I grabbed one of those, $140 from Newegg. And I was like, yeah, let's start putting it together, put the processor on, and the cooling solution. I was like, yeah, I've heard good things about this rat cooler that they have. Started putting it on, things didn't match. So what HP did is they put Intel mounting holes on the motherboard that it's intended for AMD and the socket that it's intended for AMD. For whatever reason, maybe just cost cutting, because they can have one cooler and fan solution that goes across all their SKUs, Intel or AMD, doesn't matter. So they just keep putting them on the conveyor and just keep going. That's probably the main reason. But anyway, I had this beautiful RGB snowman from Banggood I bought like a year ago. Never got to use it or anything, never tested it. So I was like, maybe this is good enough, you know, let's try it on. So I put it on. It has 4 copper heat pipes, has this 12mm beautiful RGB fan that is PWM. I was like, yeah, that works. Later on, when I tested it, I was more surprised seeing that the temperature never went over 65 degrees with the side panel closed and everything else, with stressing the video card, ambient temperature around 24-25 degrees Celsius inside the room. So I was very pleased with this $15 cooling solution. I already had the memory. The memory is HyperX Fury 3200 megahertz. I used Ryzen Master, if you guys see my previous videos, to actually enable the XMP profile on that specific memory. So 2x8, 16 gigabytes of total of DDR4, 3200 megahertz. I had 256 gigabyte NVMe drive that I put on as well. And the video card I actually sourced out of my Omen 30L in preparation and waiting for the RTX 3080 to appear, which is nowhere to be found at this point. But still, I grabbed that video card, I put it in here. I wanted to test, I wanted to play, install Windows, do all that stuff. Grab the secondary SSD drive. This is SATA 3, obviously. I was looking for something cheaper but fast at the same time, so went to Micro Center, grabbed one of their Elite inland ones, which was under $50 for 512 gigabytes perfectly. I mounted on the bottom instead of the front. The previous one you guys saw on the Walmart special. I kind of mounted it in the front, but now I decided to put it on the bottom right next to the power supply. So that's a perfect spot out of the way. Doesn't block any airflow at all. Did the exact same modification with the 2 intake fans. This time around I had 2 Noctua 92mm Redux fans. They were laying around. I had them for a while, so I was like, I mean, maybe I'll use them. I put them on. I immediately knew what was the problem with them. Why am I not using them on anything else? They are quite loud. Noctua saying 1600 RPMs, about 17 decibels, but I don't think so, guys. I think they're louder. So luckily I had one of those Noctua little PWM fan controllers, so I put it on, lowered down the RPMs a little bit so the sound is manageable. At the same time, it pushes enough air to cool all the internal components. I said that before many times on my previous videos. It's essential to have this kind of mod because this little box, this 17-liter box, really needs an intake. You really need something to be forcing air inside because you have only one exhaust, which is 92mm, and if it's passive, it's not going to be enough. A lot of people are complaining my computer is overheating. If you go to the HP forums or all around the internet, you will see this specific version with the Ryzen or the other one with Intel. A lot of people are complaining that they're overheating, that the CPU is going close to 90 or 100 degrees and the GPU is overheating. Well, this is the main reason, guys. HP are not using anything spectacular to begin with as a stock cooler, and there's no intake, there's no active intake. So this way, at least you are creating some positive pressure. 2 92mm fans are pushing air inside, and one 92mm fan is exhausting it. So I highly recommend this mod. Ask me any questions if you have, but I've done multiple videos and you guys have seen it. Anyway, long story short, put everything together, start playing with it, did some tests. I was kind of surprised. I was like, man, this processor is working great. Obviously, everything else was working. To my surprise, the motherboard is working, everything's working. So obviously, this guy was just trying to get rid of it, I guess. And I lucked out. So the total budget is about $275 with everything calculated. Now, if you don't have a graphics card, obviously you're gonna have to buy something secondhand, around $200. So you're looking at, you know, under $500, $470, $480 budget for the whole computer, which even today is very up to speed and it's still relevant to pretty much any game if you don't care for RTX, obviously. But that 1660 Ti, it's still a great card and still is perfect for up to 1080p and pushing as much frames as you can. Now you're gonna see some tests I ran on Far Cry New Dawn in the latest Tomb Raider. You guys know I test these predominantly with a lot of the components just because they're easy to compare and you have built-in benchmarks, very convenient again. So let's go into the benchmarks and we're gonna talk about the results at the end. We are comparing the Omen 30L with the latest i5 10600K with the 1660 Ti made by HP. Same exact graphics card I have installed in the Walmart special. That one has i7 9700F, and the same exact card is in the Pavilion 690-0024. This specific one with Ryzen 5 2600. So let's check out the tests and we'll talk about the results at the end. All right, back with the results, guys. I'm kind of surprised of some of the results. Very, very interesting results, especially comparing the i7-9700F and the newest i5 10600K. I am very, very surprised. And let me tell you what I'm talking about. If you saw the end of the results for the Far Cry New Dawn, obviously the lead has been taken here by the older generation i7-9700F. For me, that's a kind of a surprise considering it's only 8-core processor, no hyper-threading at all. Goes up to 4.5 gigahertz across all cores. And then we have the 10600K, which is also going up to 4.5 gigahertz across all cores and threads, but it has more threads. In theory, you have 6 cores and 12 threads of total. That's 4 more threads that are scaling up to 4.5 gigahertz. And I thought that processor will be faster and it will beat the older 9700F, but that didn't happen. And of course, at the end, we have the Ryzen 5 2600, but still very comparable results. And it's still very relevant if you're using it today for gaming or for video editing even, because again, we have 6 cores, 12 threads. The maximum clock across all cores and all threads, it's 3.725. That's why it's probably one of the reasons that we're seeing lower results, because the frequencies are quite of a big difference between these and the Intel ones, but that's kind of the obvious thing. Now, if you look at the Tomb Raider results, now there's almost no difference because this game has a very little impact by the processor, and all processors in our test are relatively new. The results at the end, average, we have 1 to 2 frames maximum, which is great. Now, if you're playing games like that are not dependent on the CPU and just change graphics cards, you're gonna be good to go here. Very, very little differences there, guys. So it doesn't matter if you have 2 years or 3 years now, almost older Ryzen 5 2600, or you have the brand new 10600K. Now, obviously, we're not doing any overclocking. I want to emphasize that again. Everything is default. The graphics card is default. The processors are default. The only overclocking, so to speak, is the memory on the Ryzen here that I've enabled the XMP profile. It's running at 3200 megahertz, where the memory on the Walmart Special, it's only running at 2666. And we know the situation with the memory of the 30L. It's running at 3200 megahertz, but very slow timings, GDAC 22, 22, 22. So for me, this is kind of a surprise. The clear winner here is the older generation of Intel 9700F. Yeah, and I'm definitely surprised. I thought the newer generation will top that off for these games, but it didn't happen. So if you're owning one of those and you're happy with it, why change, right? It's still very relevant. Now, obviously, if you have these computers with combination with that CPU, it's a little bit of a different story, because you're not going to be able to upgrade to pretty much anything new unless NVIDIA comes out with a smaller SKU that it's maybe then it's still worth keeping these. But obviously, this is what we're testing. And for now, I still have to say this is a great buy, especially for the super low budget. You can use it still for gaming, very relevant, 1080p, pretty much everything maxed out. For video editing, you have 6 cores, 12 threads, absolutely. You can use that for video editing, no problem whatsoever. For me, this is a great computer, guys. I mean, a lot of people are bashing these pre-builds, but with a little work, a little budgeted upgrades and some modifications, you can make it fly and be a real nice home project. That's pretty much it, guys. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video. Stay tuned to the channel. Subscribe if you're new. I have tons of hardware coming your way, a lot things to review. You guys gonna love it. Tons of peripherals, tons of other things, fans. I have so many things to catch up on. The 30L obviously is expecting its 3080 RTX, but unfortunately so far I've been not so successful to grab one of those Founders Editions. So I'm checking every day and hoping and waiting. Once they show up in stock again, I'm gonna grab one as soon as possible and show you some better results there. But this is for now, guys. Till next time, you have a wonderful day.